can you create this drillable chart in Sigma? Let's get into this week's Workout Wednesday challenge. All right, so I've got Eric's challenge pulled up right here. We can see that it is a horizontal bar chart, and that looks like the main part of the challenge is going to be creating this section down here for being able to drill into other dimensions, other things within a bar chart. This is a super essential skill to learn how to do in Sigma. It's kind of complicated to do in other platforms, but Sigma makes it super easy. So let's hop into a new workbook. So I'm going to come to the home page, create a new one, just workbook. All right. And let's look at the challenge or the requirements for this week's. I'm just going to paste them into here so we can keep it easy and all in one screen. So it looks like, again, we're creating a horizontal bar chart that shows the sum of profit by region to start. And looks like we're using the plugs electronic, and note that the profit is hiding in the metrics tab. Ooh, this is a fun little addition to this challenge. Let's open up our elements. We're just going to add a new table element. Again, we're just selecting where we want to find the information that's listed here, or find our data source. Again, look at our retail, plugs electronic, hands-on lab. And okay, so Eric mentioned that we're in the metrics tab. Here we can see this little pop-up from Sigma giving us a great definition of metrics. They're predefined aggregation calculations that you can reuse in your own tables, pivots, and visualizations. These are really handy, especially if you want to think about like governance in your organization. Let me just pull this up here so we can look at everything in one screen. So again, we've got our plugs electronic hands-on lab with all our columns over here. You'll note that we do not have a calculation or a column for metrics or for this metric. It is kind of lives outside of the column. Again, because this is an aggregation only calculation, it doesn't make sense. We haven't told Sigma how to aggregate anything yet. So Sigma wouldn't know what we want to group by or put our aggregation level to. Looks like we don't need to predefine that yet. So I'm going to just go the quick route and create a child visualization. Again, I'm just going to make this smaller, nice and tiny so we can see everything in one screen. I've got my bar chart here. First thing he said was that we want a horizontal one and that we're looking at our profits in our metrics tab. Got it by our, what did he say? Region. There we go. We're going to go to the metrics section and I'm going to pull my profit into here. Again, just sum of profits. Looks like that is already defined by this metric, so I don't need to change anything here. And now we want to create a drill down category that includes all the options you see in the control, which were basically a bunch of geographic items. So to create a page control or a control element, what I'm going to do is come to this plus sign, scroll down to the control element section, and this one we want a drill down for. Handy dandy drill down section here. Now we need to address the settings in here. So what I'm going to do first is identify or tell Sigma where I want to get or gather the requirements for the settings for this. So I'm going to choose my data element, which is my plugs electronic one. This is going to be the source of the categories that we're listing here. I'm going to add a drill down category. I know we're going to start at region. So just typing and adding that in, adding a new one for state. Let's see what else he did. So we've got state, city, and store name. City, store name. All right, I'm just going to label this as drill down. Locations, maybe something easy. All right, now I can see that I have these buttons here or this UI here, but they're not changing anything when I click on it. This is because we haven't told Sigma what we want to change when we click on these different things. So what I'm going to do is add a target to this element or to this control type settings so that Sigma knows what to change. So I'm going to add a drill down target. Only have profit in here. My profit bar chart, again, that's because I only have a data source and a bar chart in this workbook. So this is the only thing that's in here. And There we go. We can see that Sigma already predefined these column targets for us. This is really handy because our source and our target are sourced from the same thing, so our column names are the same. If you have a scenario where you want to target something else that is labeled something else, so for example, you want to source your columns from your data source, but in a different data source, maybe you've got a list of managers and it's listed as just region instead of store region. You can always come here and manually select what you want, but Sigma's really smart and handy and already did it for us. So now we can see that we are changing. Whenever I click on something, it does change to the one that we're looking for, but it doesn't quite look the same. Let me go back and see what we're missing here. So one thing that's we can see here is that Eric has them sorted by descending values, so we can see which item is the best or the highest profit. So let me go back. This is pretty easy to do. Sorry, wrong one. What we want to do is just sort our region by profit. There we go. Just labeling this or just identifying how we want Sigma to organize these things. What's really handy about using this drill down control element is that when I switch to my store state, you'll notice that Sigma remembers that sort order that we want to keep, so I don't have to identify it every single time, save some time as a developer. All right, so we've got there, point the controls at the appropriate target, did that, test by double clicking. Again, a really handy feature, pretty much anywhere in Sigmas that you can always double click into something to get that listed here. The difference there is going to be, I don't know if you caught that, what we did with a drill down. Here, let me drill down this one again. We can see that it auto created a filter for us. So when we double click into something, it's going to double click into that specific item versus just creating this or looking at all of the ones, for example. So just remember that is the main difference between using the control element and then double clicking into the element itself. All right. Last thing item listed here, tweak the bar chart formatting to looks like what you see in the image. Remove the x-axis grid lines. All right, so let's click on our bar chart so that we can go into the element format settings. Come here. I'm going to change. Nope, we're keeping the y-axis. So this one, we're just going to set to hide. Remove x-axis labels. Remove that label. All right, so it's a best practice that whenever you remove the label, for the axis, that we want to make sure we're labeling the bars themselves. So we're going to go to the data labels. This is just going to label the columns that we have listed here. And if I remember correctly, looks like he had changed the color to be a blue color. So I'm going to change that. I think it's this one, the theme listed here. Look pretty close. I'm not sure. I don't see it in the direction, so that's okay. We'll just kind of keep it here. All right, so looks like Sigma did add these things automatically to the outside of my bar chart, but we can see that it didn't add this top one here. This is due to Sigma's auto resizing functionality. So what we can do is to force it to show all of our labels by just coming down to label display, clicking all. And if we want to, we can also change the position of this, but it does look like we want it on the outside. Just to show you what the other options look like, there's end, middle, start. If you do this, obviously we'll want to change the color, but looks like Eric has ours set to outside. All right, last thing for us to do is to change the format profit to an SI unit. Basically, that just means we can see here that Sigma is automatically doing this by adding a million, thousand, billion kind of label for us, makes the number easier to read. So for example, we can see 45 million versus this big long number of 45,742,000, blah, 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 blah. So it's already labeling it for us here, and this is again due to Sigma's resizing. It's very handy, but if we want to or want to change the tooltip, what we can do is come here and then just change this to SI. And that is it. Believe that is everything that we need to do for this. Again, this pretty standard. Let's move this to a new page and move this one back to that page too. And then we would theoretically move these things around, add our label to it. That's pretty simple to do. One trick that I'll add here, since you were here, actually let me check and see if he's done this. Drill down path. Okay, so he does have it listed here. Um, all right. So one handy thing that you can do, if you ever need to or want to, you can also edit the drill down path that's listed here. So what we did basically again was just right click on here. And then since I'm in the edit menu for this, I can edit this drill down option and edit this list. And we only want to allow folks to be able to drill down into the ones that we have identified. For example, we don't want them to do zip code. That's too far. Looks like region's already included in there since we are in region. Let me just double check that. Oops. Edit list and region. There we go. All right. And so now I'm just going to save this as 2024 week 2. Again, put this in my documents. It'll show you the difference. So here, as a viewer, when I drill down, these are my only options available. Again, I can see those things listed here. If I preview as an explorer, let's go to this one and I right click. Again, I am limited to those ones that are predefined here. So something handy to keep in mind, just as a cleanup or a best practice, is to always edit your drill down paths to make sure that there isn't anything that you don't want someone to drill down into. And all right, so that's our challenge for this week. Thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something new.